Well, hi everyone. I'm Colleen Benelli, and I'm here with Robin.
Hi.
Hi, Robin, and our guest, Susan Oubari.
Hello, bonjour.
Bonjour from Paris, in Paris, right? That's where you are today, because I know you travel a lot,
I sure am. I'm in Paris today, is where I live.
where you live. So, anyway, I'm really excited to introduce Susan. We've known each other so many years, and I first met her as a student and then a colleague, and she's a friend. And so, just really excited. It's always so fun when we get to catch up this way. And so, Susan, her journey is really inspiring. It is powerful. She had a long career in the fashion industry, and then all of it kind of through burnout and difficulty found her way to Reiki and breath work, and um, also with her family and living in Paris and kind of a global, international experience. So she then became a Holy Fire Karuna Reiki master and also joined William and I in Japan in 2024. So I got to spend time with her there too. So, Susan, you created the Breathe in Paris method, breath work. And so I'm going to let you just explain it because I could read your bio, but I think it's better for you to just start with your story and bring it into where you are today with it all.
Oh, thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you, Robin. It is the biggest pleasure to be here today. Just as you were saying, we met in 2017 when I was living in Vancouver. You mentioned that I travel, and we've lived in many countries and cities, my family and I, and my husband and my two kids. And yes, you were my teacher, and you continue to be a very active teacher for me. And I bring into my daily life, into each breath, everything you taught me. And so I'm very, very grateful to be here. I'm very honored to be able to share with your community my story. I am American and I live in Paris. I came to Paris in 1990 to study fashion. I'm originally from San Francisco area, then we moved to Boston. I'm half English, half American and Russian. I grew up in Pleasanton, California, which is outside of San Francisco, eating Russian Easter cakes and calling my grandmother babushka. And then when we were moved to Boston area, it was very preppy and Ralph Lauren. And so from hippie to preppy. And I went to college in Maine, and my goal in life was always to work in fashion. And so but I was very systematic. I followed the rules, I followed the right steps. So college was definitely a part of that process in order to become a career woman. And after graduating from Colby College, a liberal arts school where I was a big fish in a small pond, which I do enjoy being, I went to Paris using my Russian aunt, her heritage and inheritance, and I moved to Paris and I started fashion school. And my goal at that point was really to work in fashion. I realized that I wasn't a good illustrator, and I also met my husband to be. His name is Fadi, he's Lebanese, and I called him Fido for about 2 weeks. And I was a big partier. I was not into love. My parents had just divorced. I was definitely not looking for something, uh, you know, permanent, let's just say, at the age of 20, 21. And in the end, we did get married down the road when I was 24. And we're 32 years married now. And so here we are, 2025, very much happy marriage. It wasn't always that way. And Reiki had a lot to do with saving my marriage. And I didn't like this fashion school because I realized I wasn't a great drawer or illustrator. And I had this hot Lebanese guy who was kind of the bad boy who pulled me in, and he was living in Milan. So I quit fashion school, moved in with him, much to my grandparents' English from Bath, England, dismay because, they thought that maybe he was going to steal me or he was a terrorist or something. Sorry, that was in the Gulf War. No prejudice against Lebanese people, but it was the way that people saw things back then. And obviously, because I was kind of the rebel girl, party animal, the more somebody told me not to do something, the more I did it. And and so, please don't go and live with a Lebanese guy. Please let me do it, and I'm going to prove you wrong. And that was kind of my mantra all my life. I'm going to prove you wrong. I am smarter than you think. I can work in fashion. I can have a great family with a foreigner, because my mother and father were American and English. They divorced. I was always kind of told I was stupid because I was terrible at math and science. So my half Russian father, PhD from MIT, was always very mad at me. And there were a lot of comparisons between my sister and I, and who was super smart. And so coming into my life, I started to understand that these conditionings were kind of like brakes on my life. And I didn't know that until way later. And so I started working in fashion in Italy. I learned Italian, but I had bosses that resembled my father, who told me that I was stupid, that I was slow, and I continually was getting into situations where I was working really hard but not really getting recognized. And my husband also was, at that point, I would say he wasn't always thinking I was really smart either, and we would fight all the time. We started fighting, we had kids, and my first job in fashion was in a magazine. I was working at Harper's Bazaar in Italy, in Milan, and then I got hired at Italian Vogue, and I was in the art department. And so I used what I had acquired in art school and in my as an art major in college, and then also in fashion school in Paris. And but I learned everything always on site. It was like, that is kind of my specialty. I learn as I go, and with that same mantra, I'm going to prove it to you that I can do it. And even with my husband and I fighting, I wanted to prove that I could keep this marriage. And we had, then we moved to Morocco, and there people were like, oh, you shouldn't move to Morocco. It could be dangerous for you and your son at this point, who was 1. We were both blonde with blue eyes. And of course, what did I do? I was like, let me go there. And so just continually reinventing myself. We moved, then I had a miscarriage. I worked in this magazine. I was high up in that magazine there, and fashion, art direction. And remember, I didn't know Reiki, I didn't know breathwork, I wasn't a meditator, I wasn't a yogi, I was a party girl, and what was most important was where I was, who I was seen with, and what I was wearing. And I was also really, really career woman. So I would work nights on end without sleeping. I wouldn't care what I was eating. I was just, as long as I got the job done, and no matter how much I was getting paid, it had to be done. I had to prove myself all the way, every single time. And much to my own detriment, that was hard for me. And we moved to Paris, and my husband wasn't really helping, but I still had to keep with him. And I've got another job after my daughter was born. But basically, every single time I reinvented myself, I also fell into depression. I always got into this low feeling of, how am I going to get back up again? How am I going to be recognized? And coming back to this wanting to be recognized, wanting to be known as somebody who could make it, who's smart, and that proving yourself constantly was tiring. It was exhausting. And then I was feeling very alone with my husband not helping. And so, but I always got back up. I always got back up without Reiki, without breathwork, and just with this willpower that was inside of me, and it still is. But I was hard inside, and I was noticing it. And I got another job because I was a career woman. I couldn't just be a mother. It was no way, Jose, that. And I worked in a photo agency, fashion photography agency, and I didn't know how to do that. And obviously I learned, and it was not easy at all. And I had obviously a terrible boss who continually reinforced the idea that I was stupid, and I continually believed him because that was my normal. And so today, when I'm with my clients, I thank God I had that experience. These experiences that I was able to, that I am now, as I look at my life as a flying eagle, and I have this perspective, and just becoming more conscious as I discovered Reiki later on, and I'll get to that. It just makes so much sense that I had to have that path. This path brought me to where I am, and it helps me every day to guide others. And you can't guide others until you've worked on that part on yourself. And so I'm continually working on myself. So going back at that time, yeah, I worked for a real jerk, but I learned so much. And that's all I wanted to do, because I still had so much to learn in this industry as an agent, as a photo agent, as a producer, producing fashion shoots, going to fashion shows, being whining and dining with the fashion stylists and designers and models, and then moving to Milan, and I opened the office for this jerk, but I knew I needed to still keep on going and prove myself, and I suffered so much, and that's when I broke. I was, that oak tree, super old, and the brittle branches, and just no more juice in me, no more life, and those branches just started to break, and I didn't realize it. I had friends telling me, Susan, you got to watch out. I mean, why? Because we were partying all the time. I was never with my kids. My husband wasn't there. We were fighting all the time. I was more concerned with my looks and my shoes and my nails, and and all the money I was spending, and I was hiding it, and I wasn't telling my husband, and we were getting phone calls from the bank, and I wasn't telling anybody, and I was drinking every night, and I realized that I wasn't well, because yeah, my branches were breaking, and I didn't have any resources in me. And all you had to do was ask me, hey, Susan, how are you doing? And I'd just cry. And I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to admit it. And I was like that for years, pretending. We had a great life. We had a pool. We had a beautiful apartment. We were in Milan, and I had this great job. My friends thought I was amazing. And I smiled all the time. And we were jet setters. We went to Beirut or Boston for our vacations, and we had an expat life. We were making tons of money at that point, because at that point we got out of our debts because we were expats. But then my kids started to have the symptoms of my stress, and they showed it. And so that's how I got into Reiki, thanks to my daughter. She was 6. Her name is Leticia. She's 27. She'll be 27 now. And my kids turned out amazing, but it's only thanks to the fact that I caught myself on time. But nobody can tell you to do that. And maybe you've already lived that too, Colleen and Robin, or any of you watching and listening. It's like so many people can tell you to stop and to watch out and stop drinking, stop smoking. Yeah, I was smoking. We were doing drugs, and nobody would have thought it. Like I looked just like I look right now. It wasn't like I was a druggie, but we were just in this wrong life, and so I had to have that big wake up call from my daughter who had anxiety. But all I wanted, please, couldn't they have given me a pill to give her? No. And I believe that was, she was my angel. She was my angel, and I will always just be so grateful for her having anxiety. Poor thing, and I make fun of her, and I'm like, and she still knows so much how much I appreciate all that she had to go through in order for me to wake up. And so she had body tics and facial tics, and so she would often go like this, And so I started noticing, and I was the only one who noticed, because even though I say often that I wasn't a good mother, because I was working all the time and I was partying and we had so many babysitters, and I was never like, I would never, sometimes I would come home at 3 in the morning drunk and wouldn't even know where I parked my car. But the next day, oh my gosh, I was at the gym, I was at work, I was a functional girl there, and career and mother I had to be good at, and all that, and marriage. And so there was a lot of lying, let's just say. And so my daughter felt it, and she felt it, and she expressed it in her body. And so for a whole year, I took her to therapists, to doctors, to Boston Children's Hospital. I had her seen by everyone, and my husband had nothing to do with it. He didn't want to admit. My husband and I, we love each other so much, but we had to get through that hump. And I could have left him, and we wanted to, and I wanted to, and we almost divorced, but we didn't. And that's what I really just love to say. Sometimes we don't have to leave when it's bad. We can work through it. And so that's what I did with my daughter. And I had found a piece of paper in my drawer at one point during that year of doctor visits, of me feeling very alone. And it said, Signora Maria Reiki. And it had the phone number. And so I called, because I had no other choice at this point. I was like, I'm going to just try anything. And this was from my Japanese friend who's living in Milan at this point and I knew her, and she had given me this paper, and I was like, no. And I pushed it away. You know what I mean? Has that happened to you when you get that sign and you're like, not ready? And then it, just like it was like your friends can tell you to stop, you can get doctors telling you to do something, and you can get that little sign from your friend, and it's just when you're ready that you can take that step. And so I had to go through that process of being mad at my husband, of feeling alone, of helping my daughter in one way that wasn't working with doctors and everything. And then when I did find that paper again, I took it and I called. And how did I say it? I said, hello, are you Signora Reiki? Are you Mrs. Reiki? I had no idea anything. So this was 2005 in Italy. So remember back in 2005, it was 20 years ago. Things have changed since then. And anyway, long story short, because I'd love to talk about Reiki in a different way maybe, but I'm going to give that like in an overall view about how what happened at that point, and then how I ended up today where I'm at, is that I called, we made an appointment, but on that phone call, she said, Signora Oubari, if your daughter, who's 6, is having body tics and is suffering from anxiety, then you too need to have Reiki, right?
Yeah.
So I went and I had Reiki. She had Reiki. We did it like once a week for about 6 weeks, 4 weeks. It was very quick. It was half an hour on the table and then half an hour on the table. And I would wait for her. She would wait for me. So Reiki, right from the beginning, brought us together. And then right from the beginning, her tics dissipated. I started to calm down. Everything changed. It was so sudden. And I continued. I started training in Italy. And I got my level 1 in 2006, I think. It was around there. And then we moved to Paris. And by that time, I left that job. I moved to another job. I started following some of my dreams, which is to be on TV. So I worked with style.com. I did some other things with, I just started working on my own, doing freelance in fashion. I worked with Neiman Marcus, and I was their market rep, and I was bringing them to fashion shows, and I was living still a very, very high level fashion life. But I was starting to put my foot into Reiki, and it helped. I remember I was at lunch with one of my colleagues, not a colleague, but one of my clients from Armani, and he said, Susan, your face looks different. You seem more calm. And so it was so obvious. It was so obvious that Reiki was working from the inside out. And so I started to change my priorities, and then we moved to Paris, and I continued working freelance. I started to change, and we all know that when we start to change, those around us can and most likely will do the same. And so I continued with Reiki, and I got my master. I became a Reiki master in 2011, and in 2012. But in 2011, I just changed one of my rooms around in my home in Paris. We were living in Paris. It was 2011 and 12, and I started seeing clients and all my fashion friends. It was a hard time for me because I didn't really know what identity to take on. Remember, I was very good at changing, reinventing myself, and so I was starting to reinvent myself as like, well-being expert and Reiki and spiritual and angels and because I was believing in it, and I was seeing the changes, but speaking about it with fashion people wasn't fun. It was really hard. And so I got teased by most people, and my husband, oh, he loved to tease me. He still teases me. And I must say that the person that teases you the most is there to push you to see if you're really truly 100% in it or not, because I kept on going, and despite teasing, mockery, judgments, criticism, I just kept on going because it was right for me. That said, I had like a love-hate relationship with Reiki because I knew it helped me, but I also knew it was making me feel small in respect to others' view on me. And one of the things that I always believed that I needed to do was please others and make sure that they liked me. So that's why it was so important for me to always dress well, and drinking helped me to escape from that. And so for me to continue with Reiki and to persevere and continue with my trainings, and I continued repeating trainings. I would do level 1 and level 2 like over and over again, and then the master I did it a few times, and that's why I went to you, Colleen, because I was like, okay, there's nothing to stop me here. I need to learn more. And so yeah, we moved to Vancouver in 2012. I wanted to, at that point, just leave fashion. I was so over it. And I was over the parties, over being seen, over having to be where everybody is, we were at this point, again, in debt. I was spending still so much money on clothes. I had that addiction, and I was drinking every night still. And I just was like, this is not serving me. And Reiki was helping me get to that realization, but I had so much baggage to clean and to let go of that it's not in one day, you know that it's not in one day, and it's a process. And as I look back at the age of 57 here in 2025, at that time in my life, which was 13 years ago, thank goodness I had all of that path. We talk about that in Reiki, our path and what brings us to where we are, and to be able to look back and to learn and to not live in the past, not live in the future, and not to be stuck there, to learn and take those experiences can from there in order to nourish that present moment, which is the only moment that exists. And so that's another thing that's super important that helped me with the 5 ideals of Reiki. From day one, I live by those, and I don't ever go a day without saying them. They are in my mind, in my prayers, and everything. The 5 ideals of Reiki, just for today, just for today, just for today. And so and also living by intention and creating intentions. And I have the home that is most suitable for the Oubari family, for the highest good of everyone, and in harmony with the universe. So I lived by these intentions, and I started working with Ho'oponopono and forgiveness, and I was starting to teach my kids, and my husband started to kind of like think I was crazy, but make fun of me and understand that he liked the change. And we were able to bring our family back. And we used to be a triangle where he was outside, and then we became a square, and a circle, and a unified being, this entity, which is family. So we moved to Vancouver because we needed to get away from Paris, because I was over fashion, And also we had no money. So we needed to become expats again, and we reinvented ourselves again. And I said, no more fashion. I threw away all my clothes. I know that's terrible to say, but I did. I gave them away. My Valentinos, my Dior, my Loewe, my Ungaro long dresses, because we were such parties. We were dressing all the time in like these gorgeous clothes. And I'm like, I can't do that anymore. So I traded that all in for Uggs, ripped jeans, and a white t-shirt. And I moved to Vancouver with my 2 kids and my husband. They were in high school, and we had the best time. And I said, I'm going to start my Reiki business. Oh my gosh, it did not work at all. It was terrible. It was just very, very difficult. I didn't know anybody. I was scared to talk about Reiki at that point still, but I also didn't want to talk about fashion, so I didn't know who I was. And when you don't know who you are, if you don't have confidence, it's hard to sell anything. So I learned that the hard way. And I think a lot of us do, and it's okay. But I kept on going, and then I was like, there was this big store called Nordstrom opening in Vancouver, and I was like, I can't let that pass by me. I'm the one who should be opening it. So I went back into fashion, and I opened the store with them. I was a personal stylist. I changed jobs all the time in fashion. I've never been a personal stylist. I don't know how to dress people, but they thought I would be able to do that. And I also was head of Stella McCartney, which is, for me, it was very aligned with my values, the values of Reiki. And I had a whole new values. Like, I still drank, and we can talk about that another time. Not another time. Today, we can talk about that. I have no problem with that. But like, I still was a partier. I still love to have fun. I love la vie est belle. And I love to dance and have wine and have dinner parties. And so we had a big house. And so on the side of Nordstrom, I saw some clients, and I was still a mom, and I got my kids into college, and we cooked together as a family, and we were really unified, and we moved on. And it was a conflicting moment there too, because my daughter and I weren't getting along at all. And Reiki helped me, but I also just let her go. And I just said, I'm going to work. I'll give you the car. I'll take the bus. And just by letting her go helped help her come into herself. And then the other thing that was really important to me at that point, when I had that interview with Nordstrom, was I was really aware of who I was and what I wanted. And I was living my life honestly. And so in my interview, I wasn't going to let anybody boss me around, and I wasn't going to go for a bad boss anymore. So everything shifted, and it was this long journey to get to that. And I needed that job, Colleen and Robin, in order to prove to myself that I could be the new version of myself, anchored, a bamboo that goes with the flow and doesn't break, and that's not too strong, and that listens, and that can also be grounded, but also in a flow, and that knows how to say what is important to me. And so I didn't live with regret. I had lived with so much regret, so much guilt, so much shame, so much hatred, anger. And just for today, I let go of all anger. Like, that was my mantra for years. And so I got that job, and I also left it within 2 hours. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to quit my job. And I didn't ask anybody. I didn't need permission. I was literally just me. And Reiki, because I do Reiki every morning, it's part of my every single day routine. Daily routine is Reiki. And so I give myself Reiki. I pray the 5 ideals of Reiki. I pray to my guides and my angels. And then I said, I have got to leave this job, because I knew we were going to leave to go back to some other country. We didn't know where. And I'm almost finished my story. Is it okay?
It's a good story. Yeah, it's fascinating.
So what happened? I was like, I'm bringing up this outfit up to the steward, the seamstress on the 3rd floor of Nordstrom in Vancouver, and it closed since then. And I'm like, you know what? I have an appointment with my manager to talk about the upcoming merchandising for Stella McCartney, but I don't really feel like working for that job anymore. So on my way back down, I decided to quit. I didn't call anybody. I go into that meeting. She's like, okay, we're going to talk about what we're going to do for merchandising. And I'm like, you know what? Hold on a minute. I just want to give you my 2-week notice. What? And I left there and I'm like, oh my God, you're so badass. And I'm so proud of you, Suzanne. Look at what you've done. Look how far you've come. And and I said, I have 9 months until I think we're going to be moving. I'm not going to worry about the move. My husband is getting fired. I'm not going to worry about my husband getting fired. And I'm not even going to worry about his emotional state, because he was probably kind of worried and depressed. And I am going to live my life here and now in this moment, and I have got to make my mark in Vancouver. And I started doing women's circles, very Reiki all the way, with crystals and stones, and with rituals and burning of the intentions and sending up to the full moon. And I just love them. And I created, like I did in Paris, I told the kids, no more playroom. This is my Reiki room. And I had a huge space downstairs. And Fadi, he was like, I don't know where we're going to move, and da da da. And I was like, I wasn't even worried. And this is how Reiki changed me. It's having faith. It's going through all that to be able to arrive where you just know it's going to be okay, that you trust. And that for me was a revelation, because I was so hardened by wanting to control. And what happens when we let go of all worry is that we let go of our control and we come into trust, and we allow the universe to guide us, to show us opportunities, to also bring us awareness of what we don't and do need. And so you slow down, you see it. And I was always so fast. I was on the outside of the wheel, and Reiki allowed me to come within. And so yeah, when Fadi was like, I don't know where we're gonna move, I don't know when, and I'm like, I don't care. I care. I'm not worried about that. I must say that during this time, I had already met Colleen. I had already been introduced, and I had become a master in Holy Fire and Karuna Holy Fire. And that was number 2. And I'll tell you, Holy Fire. Holy Fire. Holy Fire is everywhere for me. It's Holy Fire for everything. And in the morning, during the day, when I'm like worried, it's just Holy Fire. And so bringing Holy Fire brought me that trust, brought me a connection to something higher than me. And I started to play around, and that's so much fun. Wait, let me see if I can make it work. Can you prove to me that what I believe in right now is working? Can you show me signs? I'm aware of them. I'm going to open my eyes on a peripheral vision, and I'm going to play with you, and I'm going to co-create with you, Mr. Universe and Mr. or Mrs. And that's what started happening with me with Holy Fire. And so we did move. We ended up not moving to LA because it was one on the list, and we moved to Paris. And I didn't want to move to Paris, but that was part of the plan. I didn't want to move to Paris because it reminded me of all that terrible, that really great life, glamorous. For me, it wanted me to make throw up. And I remember Colleen, you and I, we had many sessions oh my gosh, you helped me so much. I remember I was lying in bed, you'd be giving me invocations, and I recorded them all. I have writings about every single session that we had. It was in 2000. I worked with you in 2017. I went down to Oregon. Even my husband let me go down there for 10 days. Like, he had changed completely. And then I had you give me Reiki, distant Reiki, for several sessions by telephone. And then you helped me move. And I remember I also saw you again when I was in Paris. And then when I moved to Paris, I said, that's enough fashion. And then I had a divorce with Reiki. I went on strike with Reiki because I came back here and nobody was believing it. Nobody was believing in me. They were still making fun of me. I'm like, what? And just thinking about those days, I could cry because it was so hard. That was 2017, and I got a business coach, and she asked me these questions. And one of the questions was, tell me about your relationship with Reiki. I don't know why that was one of her questions. And I realized that it was a very difficult relationship that I had. And so I still hadn't come into that part of me where I could accept that I was fully a Reiki master, or that I didn't have to worry about what other people thought of me. Because I came back to Paris and my identity was fashion person everywhere. And so I remember writing to my coach and explaining it in like this long page of why I love Reiki, why I don't like Reiki. And in January, I went to LA to move my daughter into a university in Santa Barbara. And in the plane, I wrote in my diary, and I wrote some very interesting, I admitted some stuff to myself, and I was crying the whole time. And that's when I said, I don't care about you angels. I don't care about you guides. I don't, like, let me just, I was just very, very graphically angry at all of that, at that whole world that wasn't serving me. Why was I lost again? Why was I depressed again? Why couldn't I find my way? I didn't know what to do. This is worth nothing. All of this work, I want to throw it away, and I did. And I'm like, fuck, 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 fuck. Sorry.
All right.
My French. And I went to dinner like the day I arrived. And I had stopped drinking for 9 months at that point. I was starting to realize that I had to stop. I went back afterwards, and that night or the next day, I had dinner with somebody. Lauren said to me in LA, and my sister lived in LA by this time, so we're going to LA a lot. Susan, I'm going to this guy that you told me about. He does breath work, and he's doing a teacher training, and I'm going to do it on Saturday. This weekend I'm doing it. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're a script writer? I'm a Reiki master. And so why are you doing it, and why am I not doing it? She said, well, maybe you can do it. I'm sorry, I didn't think you'd be interested. And it's true, I had not been interested in Reiki. That was another thing that had been offered to me, thanks to my sister, for like 2 years. And I was like, no, 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 no. And anyway, so then I said yes that day. And I went to my first breathwork session. And I like to say that Reiki saved me and breathwork transformed me. And breathwork fixed, repaired all that was broken. And Reiki was leading me to that. But breathwork is very aggressive. It's very powerful, and you have to do the work. And Reiki is more about letting go and trusting and just letting the energy come through you. Whereas breathwork is, whoa, powerful and energetic and intense. And so basically what I needed, the fashionista, needed to have those two. And my life changed. And I came back, I left LA, and I said, I'm going to bring breathwork to France. And my sister said, what happens if you don't? And I said, I'm going to do it. And of course, I'm going to prove it to you in my head. And I created Breathe in Paris, and it was hard. But for me in Paris, I needed breathwork, which is easy to understand, in order for the French to be able to accept Reiki. And so I started talking about breathwork more than Reiki. And then I started to gain confidence because I was doing both in the sessions. So I started with private clients, and I wasn't getting clients right away, of course, but I had some friends still who kept on coming to my Reiki sessions. I would give free breath work, and then I started doing, because my goal was to bring this out to more people, to teach classes. My goal was to teach classes. I saw myself in front of people. I've always visualized, and I see what I want, and I create it, and I co-create it, and with that intention, and living really strongly in where I can be now and what can that bring me towards. And so, yeah, I started giving breathwork sessions in the parks of Paris for the summer of 2018 for free. Nobody was talking about it, breathwork. And then I got 2 places where I started working, studios where I still work. I'm very, very faithful and loyal to who I work with, and I don't go out of that loyalty. And so it's been 7 years now, Breathe in Paris, and I created, I've become super well known, and remember, that's what I like, and I'm not scared of saying that. I like to be recognized and acknowledged, and I helped Reiki also become more accepted, more modern, because I'm a real modern girl. I learned not to talk about angels and guides in public. I do that in my own space, and that's okay. So I learned how to adjust according to what was needed and according to where I was at. And that's super important in business. And so I also created a very streamlined look. I stayed black all the time and very elegant. I'm very luxury brand. I stayed with what I knew. And so Breathe in Paris was born. I wrote a book, the first book about breathwork. And in the book, I talk about Reiki, 5 years of Reiki. I've been interviewed in over 550 articles, magazines and press all over the world. And I'm super proud to say that because it took so long to get there. It's like Rome was not built in one day. And the path that brought me there, I'm like, I am smart. Oh my God, I made a perfume. How did I do that? And I created a candle and I made the Breathe in Paris school and I'm teaching others and my method, which is based on my whole life on coaching. How many coaches did I have? So many. How many therapists? Meditation. I've been meditating every single day since 2011. Reiki since 2005 and breathwork since it transformed my life in 2018. And so that is my method, and it's holistic, it's real, it's authentic, it's full of my 57 years of life, my 27 years in fashion, and especially the road that brought me here. And Reiki is super important in all of that. And I talk about it very freely, no lack of confidence, no fears, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to be able to share my story like that because I hope that people know that it's not easy, and that I hope that people can learn from that story that you got to keep going, and that you don't have to be believed in. You have to believe in yourself, and to trust the process, trust those no's, trust those dead ends in the road, trust when the light is red for a long time. And to find wholeness within when the doubt comes creeping through, because even right now there's doubt in me, and yesterday and 2 days ago, and then maybe tomorrow there'll be something that's really exciting, and there's still fears, and all of that makes me so real, and those parts in you are going to help you connect with others better, and that's what living authentically is. And so yeah, thank you. Thank you for listening to my podcast.
I think sharing the vulnerability is, like you were saying, being authentic, sharing the vulnerability is so helpful because everybody goes through struggles in their life. And I think a lot of people can identify with being in a job or a career or an industry, or maybe it's a relationship, or whatever it is that is really they realize somewhere along the line that maybe it's like, oh wait, this is not actually fulfilling like my soul, or I'm running it faster than what I can keep up with for myself, and something needs to change.
For sure. I think a lot of people are in that place right now. And as we go through changes and shifts in culture and society, COVID was, that whole time, the pandemic really brought awareness, and it was a gift to society, I think, because we were able to slow down and take a step back. And every generation has its own characteristics, and I think that this generation is very aware. The new generation is very aware of. I have a 25-year-old working for me as my brand manager, and she knows when to say no. She knows when to say, "Oh, I have to go." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh! If I had been you, it would have been much safer. I would have been much healthier." And so I respect that. And but a lot of people aren't able to do that, and they get stuck. We get stuck,
Yeah.
and it's hard to get out.
So true. And I just love how the story led you to your breath work. And I'm interested, who did you study with in LA? Who was the man?
Yes, John Paul Creamy, and
Okay.
I definitely acknowledge my teachers and my ancestors, and I studied with him, and then I also studied with Dan Brule, who was in at the time he was in the Netherlands.
Okay, I was just curious. I thought it might be somebody different that we just did a podcast with too. So I thought, oh, wouldn't that be a coincidence? But not
I
the same
love
person, but anyway.
and so breath work is really important to just, can I just explain what breath work is?
Yeah, I
Because
do. And more about your breathe in Paris. Like
okay.
in your book. Yeah, tell us.
Oh, thank
Tell
you.
us the scoop.
Well, my scoop was that I was interviewed for the Figaro newspaper, which is like Wall Street Journal. I had a lot of press in the beginning because it was such a novelty bringing breathwork to France. So I had. They often say I'm the pioneer of breathwork in France. So first of all, breathwork is a general term that covers all types of conscious breathing. Conscious breathing can be through the nose, through the mouth. It can be shallow, deep, through the belly up to our chest. It can be fast and slow. It could be transformative, and it can be for regeneration. So there are different types of breathwork techniques, and it can be box breathing, coherence, cardiac breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, which are more for finding calm, and where you can be doing it right now while I'm talking. So breathing like that would be just breathing through the nose. And so it's about breathing into the belly, opening up the diaphragm, expanding the rib cage, filling up all the way up to the heart, up to the chest, and then releasing. And so you can do that while I'm talking, all of you. And that's breath work. That's diaphragmatic breathing. And it helps to calm our nervous system, to regulate everything. And we can do that when we're stressed, when we're going on stage, when we're in a conflict, when we're in a conversation that's not working out for us, when we need patience, when we don't, in order to not interrupt somebody, that can help. Taking a few deep breaths. When we're tired, that can also help us find concentration, become more focused, right? Because we're breathing through the nose, oxygenating the brain. And we can also do we can bring it up a level. We can do some sighs. So if you need a little bit more energy, we can go and just release. So doing 3 deep sighs like that can release any pressure in your body, because our body is connected with our mind. So if I'm saying I'm stupid, that was my terrible mantra over and over. I'm so stupid, I'm never gonna make it, I'm blonde, I'm American, oh, I'm sorry, you'll never understand what I'm saying, because that was always my dialogue, inner and outer. It was typical Susan Oubari. And so in order to calm that, I can be like, okay, I'm okay. And so, and then the other kind of breath work we can do is more intense, and you can do like this. That's like what we do with Tony Robbins, for example. It's priming. Or we can be doing more inhaling, exhaling through the nose and the mouth. We can do all through the mouth. We can do 2 inhales in, the physiological breath. So we're going to start to intensify energy, and I'm getting hot here, right? So it's not calming, it's energizing. And then we can also do breath work in order to go into altered states of consciousness, which you wouldn't do here right now, where you have to be lying down and it's like this, or like this. And what's going to happen? You're going to start to hyperventilate in an active and controlled way. And this is going to create an imbalance in your central nervous system. So you're going to actually increase and activate your sympathetic nervous system and lower your parasympathetic nervous system, which is calming. So you're going to go into fight or flight. And so what are we going to do? If we're going to do that for about 30 minutes, this kind of controlled, conscious, circular breathing through the mouth, we can go into altered states of consciousness. It's like going into a trance, going into hypnotism. It's like hypnosis. It's like being there, but you're not there. And you can have you might not even know what time it is, lose track of time, concept of time. So the point of going into an altered state of consciousness is that then you let go of control. You can let go of your emotions, that you can release. And what could be holding, and I was talking about my conditionings with my parents and me feeling inadequate and need to be seen. Well, all that is because of when I was a kid, that's how I was brought up. And there was a lack of or need of. And so those become crystallized emotions in our bodies, and the breath is a tool that we can use to melt that away. It's like an iceberg melting, and it's like bringing in space. And what we talked about with Reiki is like slowing down. We're going to speed up, but through speeding up with our breath, we're actually creating space in our memories, in our conditionings, in our limiting beliefs, in our repetitive patterns. And so it starts to break it all up. And after a breathwork session that's like this, for me, it could be holotropic breathing, rebirthing. The breathing I teach is called 2-stage pranayama. So it's all through the mouth. And it's not for everyone, but it's very important after a session. My sessions are 30 minutes of that type of breathing, that there is an integration period where we come back to a nose breath. This nasal breath allows us to kick in allows the parasympathetic nervous system to kick in, which is about regeneration. It's about relaxation, it's about connection, and it's there in my private sessions that I give the Reiki. So somebody who's taking a breathwork session with me, the 4 pillars of Reiki, the 4 pillars of Breathe in Paris are in one of my sessions, whether it's a group or a private, and there's coaching and meditation. In the beginning, we define the objectives, what you want to let go of, what you want to bring in, and I start Reiki right away. I ask, do you want to have Reiki? And it's a 4-hour session for my private sessions. And so I'm always there, I'm sitting there and I'm just looking at the person. I'm giving Reiki and holy fire everywhere. And if they obviously don't want it, only one person in my whole career of being with Reiki has never wanted Reiki. Yeah, so that's okay. And respecting that completely, but I always ask. And so then the second part is the breath work and Reiki on the massage table. So in my group sessions, I bring in themes, which are how I do coaching, but it's in front of a group of 50 people. My classes are now very successful, and I don't do free classes anymore. And then I give full-on Reiki, and I ask, if you'd like to receive Reiki today, just say yes in your head. If you don't want to receive Reiki, please know that you will not receive it. And the worst that can happen with Reiki is nothing, and I always say that. And so I give Reiki to the group, holy fire, and I sometimes go and touch. If it's a small group, I touch, and I always ask. And then so this woman, she had interviewed me for this newspaper, and this newspaper had half a page about me, about Breathe in Paris, about how one breathwork session is like 1 year of therapy. It was an amazing title, and it brought me up a lot with clients. It was in 2019. And then she called me like a few months later, and she said, how about we write a book together? And that's how this came up. And I found the editor. It's one of the best editors in France, and Flammarion. And so my book is called Breathwork, Breathe for Change.
I've hold it up.
Yeah.
Can people get it
Breathwork.
on in the States, or is it only is it in French?
It's in French.
Okay.
And unfortunately.
That's okay.
So we wrote this, and I really thought I was very stupid writing this. And first of all, I was like, who am I? I've always wanted to write a book. It was my goal in life, is to write a book, have be on stage, and have be seen. It's part of me, and so. But I didn't think I was able to do it, or I didn't think I could, or worthy of it, or smart enough, and so. It was a very, very hard job writing that book, because I had Emily, who's French and a journalist from one of the best newspapers in France, who was rereading what I was writing, and then she was writing a part, and so we combined. So there's really half of each chapter I wrote, she just corrected, and the other half she wrote. And but we decided on it together, and there's a whole part about Reiki, like I said, and the 5 ideals of Reiki, the chakras, our energy systems, intention writing, like there's just so much depth in this book, and also breath work. And I got through it by consistently working with my limiting beliefs and giving Reiki, Noza, 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 and holy fire, and just I can do this. But I would be like, I'm so stupid, I can't. I would take my phone and I would look at myself and record myself. I'm so stupid, I can't do this. I don't know why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this? I don't know why. I don't know why. I'm so stupid, and I'm never gonna make it. And then I'd like, I can do this. I'm so smart, and I was chosen to do this. And like that was how I work. In all that I do, I'm like, of course I have doubts even today. Why am I doing this? How am I going to do this? And I can do this. I can do this. I am doing this because I'm supposed to. This is my path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. I can do it, and smile. And there's a whole other energy when you start talking like that. So and so that's my book, and I love it. I'm very proud of my book. Didn't sell well. It didn't sell. It still will sell well because there's still a chance. It's a timeless theme, a timeless subject, but not many people know about breathwork still. And that's why I created my school in 2021, because I felt like I needed to expand this practice and make it known, and nobody knew it, and we needed more practitioners, and not everybody was going to want to be with me as I'm like this person, like, you see that, you can feel that energy, and this is me. And so maybe somebody needs somebody more calm and more like, soft, and that's not me. And I'm like powerhouse. And so I need to create space so that other people can learn what I do, and then they can bring it out and bring more people in. And so that's what I did. I created the Breathe in Paris School based on my method, and I wrote 600 pages, 300 on level 1 and 300 on level 2. Another book on my manual, and it's 170 hours of training, 4 months, and I did it in English. I've done 3 sessions in English. Here in France, I'm very well known, but not in the English-speaking countries. So I always had less people in my English sessions, but I wrote the manual in English. Everything is in English, but I'm wondering if I will maybe not do it. If somebody's interested in coming to a breathwork training session, I would need to have at least 3 people, but it's very hard to promote, and then I have only 3 people. But I just did one recently, and I only had 3 people, and I don't, that's another thing. You have to keep going, even when it doesn't book up, when it doesn't sell out. And you don't quit, you don't cancel, you keep going. If you say you're going to do it, you do it until the end, and that's something that I always am proud of. And then you also don't go in regret, like, oh, I only have 3. I have 3. That's totally my way of thinking. And also, it's not like about filling up my class. It's about creating the space that the people who want to come can receive the notice that there is this availability. That's the whole other mindset, because it's not in lack, it's in abundance. So I have a one-woman show coming up, and by the time of this podcast, it will have been done. And of course, I want it to sell out and be full, and I also want everybody to love it. But that's just no way. That's not how we work here. If I want to promote it so that the people who were looking for exactly that thing, that event, that experience, that emotion, that person, me, that I create the space, the channel, the tunnel for them to meet me where I'm at. So that's what I do when I'm selling. I'm not selling, I'm creating space for the person to come to me so that they can receive what they need that I can give and share with them. And so I try to do that with my school. I need it to be filled up right now, but I'm not going to go into that need. It's like, I'm excited for this to fill up with the right people. And that's a lot of work, right? Have you been there? Yeah.
Always. I mean,
Always.
it's a
What is your trick?
It's a
What is
continual
Exactly what you said.
journey.
You just keep showing up, and
yeah.
we believe in it so much, just like you.
Mhm.
It is like it's just that internal drive to share, make a difference. And like you say, just looking at, there's the aspect of it that is for the benefit of all. And then there is also the business practices of it to be successful with business. And a lot of it is we also love business. So it's not so much like, oh, it's all about the business, but the business is also very enriching, fulfilling, and rewarding. So learning the business practices, and of course, they're so, you know, ever changing right now, really, since the beginning of social media, really, since the beginning of technology. I mean, it's all still the same, foundational kind of business practices, what's underneath it all, but how it's all done has changed so much. And um, in addition to all of it, I actually love it. Like, I love that part of it. I love studying it. I love the curiosity of it. I love the manifestation of it. And also then the success of it gives us a greater ability for outreach and to make a difference. And so it all works together. Like it all has that just kind of, I guess, integrated meaning. It's, the person that I was talking about that I thought maybe you study breath work with, talked about calling where we are as the meaning economy. And I just think we have all always had that, even through all of our different journeys. We care deeply about the meaning of all of it. And so I think that, and what I hear from your story, that's that's the driving force of it. And so, yeah, there are plenty of times that our classes are very small, even after almost 30 years. And our classes can be small. And same thing, I always just look at, oh, here's the divinely ordered circle. And it's so
Mhm.
fascinating to watch that part and to also let go of the attachment of numbers. Like,
It's so
just
true, the
who's
attachment.
here is meant to be here. And then that also works, I think it's instructional to the energy of Reiki that that's who we're looking for, because it's just authentic then. And Reiki attracts that, like you say, attracting in who's meant to be there. So I think we're the same thing you're saying.
Yeah, it's inspiring. Business is important. I am a businesswoman. I teach how to create a business, and it's going to be thriving. And I believe it also needs to be aligned with your values. That is the
Yeah.
key in my teachings, and that you are worthy of making money and raising your prices, no matter what you are selling, because we are providing a service in exchange for their money. So they're paying us for not only our time, but also our experience, our trainings, all of the trips that we've made to go see all these different teachers and pay for them, and also for our age, our life, our own experiences. So for me, the value that we as Reiki practitioners and Reiki masters, breathwork teachers, yoga teachers, meditation, yeah, is is huge. It's huge because in order to have gotten to where we are, most likely, because we probably had to shift from something else before. I know you did. Robin, I don't know your story. What were you before coming into Reiki?
I mean, not to the level you are, but similar. Like,
Okay,
yeah, corporate.
corporate. And so very often we're not born into this career or into this industry, but there are nowadays. But and so that is so valuable. Our our experience in our careers before changing has a value. And so, yeah, so I don't believe in this idea that it's spiritual, so it shouldn't be paid. We are also giving so much value after, the people leave and they're very often transformed. What is the value of transformation, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so I'm really curious because I heard you talk about the four steps you teach in your
Mm-hmm.
Breathe in Paris. Can you tell us something about those?
Oh, yeah.
Because here's the other part that really caught my attention is the mouth breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always thought in breath work, you're always supposed to only do nose breathing.
Mm.
And so when you said that, I thought, really, I get to do mouth breathing, which is my preference.
Okay.
So,
So let me just respond to the question about the four pillars. As I said, my method in what I teach is based on what worked for me and what still works for me. So I still have coaches. I still meditate every day. I still do Reiki every day on myself and also integrate it into my life. And I also do breath work every day. And all of those have helped me become really a happy person. Really, just full and whole and complete. And life is great. And also, I have so much stress and so many business issues and so many people like criticizing me and people judging me and people walking out of classes and but I deal with that. So I'm okay. I'm okay where I'm at. So that's why these four really work and blend in together in my method. And so when I talk about coaching, I will see a client and I'll coach them for my sessions in the beginning were only an hour and a half. They're up to 4 hours now. People think, what are we going to do for 4 hours? Well, with Susan Oubari, it is just always something. And so we fill in that time. And sometimes I go up to 5 hours, 6 hours. I don't charge any more than they paid. And so the beginning is really about getting to know. So what is a coach? A coach is somebody who helps the person in front of them find the solutions within themselves. A coach is somebody who listens. A coach is somebody who doesn't judge. A coach is somebody who cares and accompanies and guides. And so I have my tools, like I'll use different techniques or different, how would you say the word? Different processes. So I can use forgiveness theory, which is Ho'oponopono. I can use how to write intentions, the 10 steps of creating your own intention and formulating words to manifest. I can talk about how to dissolve limiting beliefs and just like I did, like I'm so stupid, I'm never going to make it. And then, okay, let's turn it around. So I'll be influenced by people like Joe Dispenza, who I've seen many times, a few times. Eckhart Tolle, who I've also seen. Amma, who I've seen. I've seen Wayne Dyer before, and Louise Hay with her intentions and positive affirmations, and Tony Robbins. So, like all of the people that I've seen, I write and I remember. And like with you, how many times I recorded your things and I re-listened to them, or you sent me the recordings. Thank you very much, Colleen. And I wrote notes. And I have plastified your invocation, and I would read it for years and years. And now when you say your invocation, which we did it before this session, I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many parts that I know by heart and others that you bring in on your own. And so, yeah, so I take my teachers, I take my experiences and I put them into my coaching, and I bring in my own experiences. I'll talk about my boss who harassed me. I didn't talk about that, but that was a real big part of that bad boss person. And I'll talk about, but I'll only bring it up if it's important, because a coach shouldn't be bringing in their own stories unless it's a useful tool. It's a useful tool. So often I'll let the person talk, and then I feel like that person feels shame, and I'll say, you know what? I just want you to know you're mirroring me. You are me. I had the same life as you. I used to be you. I did that, da, 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 da. And they're like, oh my God, can you tell me what happened to you? And so then that's what is different from a therapist. I talk about my story if it has to come up. So coaching is really a big part of, and We do a lot of journaling about writing. What is your objective of the session? What do you want to let go of? What do you want to bring in? And then we do meditating in that section. So sometimes I can guide my client into an hour-long meditation, and I'll bring in Reiki and symbols, and I'll just, I don't know, I channel. I become very different in a session, and I'm understanding lately, but it's very, very recent, that I must have a gift. But it's very, very hard for me to see that, because I'm still kind of that producer person and that performance person and be seen person. And so for me, when I am on stage or in a session, all of a sudden I'll go into something and I don't even know what I'm saying, and I start to channel, and it's very exciting when that happens. But like right now, I don't even know, and I don't believe really that I can do that, but it does happen, and it's really beautiful when that happens. And then I explain what breathwork is, and my style of breathwork is something that you would not do right now, my dear Colleen, who wants to breathe through her mouth. Breathing through the mouth is not optimal for your well-being, because it excites you and it creates more stress on the body. And so the more stress, more oxygen as we're breathing through the mouth that we're going to be bringing in, it's going to activate the fight or flight more often. It's going to produce more adrenaline, more cortisol. So those are the stress hormones, my dear Carlene. And I know you know that. And I know you're not actually going like this all the time, because that would
No,
be right. I know, because
unless I'm walking uphill.
you're calm, unless
Yeah,
we're going
exactly.
up Mount Karuna.
Right, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
And falling over the roots. But and so mouth breathing is not advised. It's not an optimal way, because it does spike more of our sympathetic nervous system, and our nose was built for us to breathe as we are sucking on our mother's nipple. And so our mouth was created in our bodies for food and for speaking. And so when we understand that, we kind of say, okay, let me use the tools that were given to me. This is a tool, this is a tool, these are tools, right? And use them to our highest potential. And our respiratory system is not used to its highest potential for most of the population on this earth. First of all, because nobody told us. They taught us how to memorize math and to understand, the World War II, and to be able to speak in public. And then maybe we learned how to, use a football or a soccer ball and sports or whatever. But the use of our respiratory system is something that is so underestimated, and the importance of the respiratory system is so underestimated. And what happens is that we forget to breathe. And so my grandson was just born a few weeks ago. By this time, it'll be a few months ago. And babies, they breathe into the belly. And so when we come back to the tools that were given to us and the way that we're supposed to use them, then we can use them to their highest potential, for our highest potential, for the creation of the best of everything, and especially for a better well-being, to improve our well-being. So breathing through the nose is what you should be doing while you're at sitting down state, relaxed state. Breathing through your mouth can be during sports, walking up a hill. And when we're going to be doing an actual breathwork experience, we can use the nose breath to calm us down, like in a meditation. Like when I'm giving Reiki, I'll be breathing in. And when I give Reiki, I'll be breathing into my hands. And so I'll be breathing into it like an Ujjayi breath, which is down. It's not in my nostrils, it's down here. You hear that? It's not. You hear the difference? I'm going to put it really loud. Listen to this. It's right here. And listen to this one. Did you hear the difference?
Yeah.
So like if I had some mucus in my nose, you would hear. And so actually every morning I use salt water and I spray my nose in the morning, every morning. And I'm a breathwork teacher, so I'm constantly breathing and showing people how to breathe. So I don't have that mucus as much. It also clears out the mucus because the membranes in the nostrils are there to cleanse the air as it comes through. So that's why when we breathe through our nose, it's going to be more purified than through the mouth, which has no filter. So filtering the nose, the air comes down into the lungs. The lungs are humid and the air coming in is going to be cool. Then it's going to do a circular journey. It's going to transfer the oxygen and the carbon dioxide is going to exchange in the alveoli, which are like little bags of grapes. And we have trillions in our 2 lungs. And then it's going to come out and the carbon dioxide is exhaled. And usually it's warmer. Like you can, if you're going to be going like that, it's warmer than it's cold. So this is a way of protecting also your lungs. Let's just say you're out in the cold. I know you're cold there in Oregon, and you're going to be bringing in that cold air in winter. It's going to come into the lungs. First of all, the nose is going to warm up with the mucus and the filters. Warm up the air as it comes down through the bronchial cords all the way down into past the esophagus and all this journey, very quick, very natural and active. And it goes into the lungs, it changes, does the exchange of gases, and it comes back warmer. And as it comes back warmer, the carbon dioxide exhales toxins. So any kind of toxins that are in your chest and in your lungs, which could be whether it's pollution or toxins in your body or emotional toxins, it comes out, and then it's just this circular thing. So whenever you're breathing next time, think of it like that. You're breathing in like cold, green, blue air, like eucalyptus kind of feeling. And then you breathe out orange, fuchsia, red air. And you can use this as a meditation. And it's a beautiful way of seeing yourself, clean yourself and exhale what you don't need. Clean and heal, exhale and release. So it's just this beautiful circular breathing through the nose, and it's conscious and it's deep. And there are definitely lots of different exercises like Dr. Vail's technique that can help you breathe, go to sleep, and it's 4, 7, 8. So it's inhaling for 4, holding for 7, exhaling for 8. There's box breathing, which helps give clarity to your mind, to your mental, because you're like visualizing a box. Count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. And there's triangle. There's also physiological breath. And that can reset you very quickly. 2 inhales through the nose, 1 exhale through the mouth. I see it as a dance of life. Like for me, it's like this intimate love making with yourself, with your soul. And it's just like connecting to this part that is so unrecognized. And remember, I love people. I love to recognize people. I'm always giving compliments. I always want to hear and listen, and I don't like to interrupt. And that's what we need to do with ourselves. And the breath is like that, gives us access to our soul. The word breath in English means spiritus, so it's our spirit. We're connecting with our spirit through our breath. And then the other breath is or and you do that over and over, you start getting dizzy. If I do it now, I'll get dizzy. I mean, I'm an expert, but it's not to be done sitting up, and you're lying down and the music is loud, and I have my equipment here with my Zoom sessions, and the music is mixed, and it's like, I'll just give you an example. So you have like incredible, the way that I see it is that there's so much that can be done and seen in a breathwork session. So tell me, just nod your head if you hear music. Okay, so so this music, I'll tell the person this is the first song, and I'll tell the people to close their eyes. And so if you want to, you can just try it, closing your eyes, and just allow your breath to come into this experience. So we're just going to do about 2 minutes, just 2 minutes to see. So breathe in through your nose, inhaling in, and then exhaling it out. Breathing in through the nose and exhaling it out. And when you exhale, just let your mouth open. Don't put your mouth pierced like as if you're in a straw. Inhaling in and then exhaling it out. Great. And now we're going to just try inhaling in through the nose, holding, and exhaling out. So why don't you follow me in a moment? We're going to be holding, exhaling, and holding. And so just a moment, and we're going to breathe in through the nose. 3, 2, 1. Inhaling in, and hold up the top, and exhale it out through the nose, and hold at the bottom. In through the nose, just keep the mouth closed, hold at the top, and exhale through the nose, and hold at the bottom. And now we're going to do 2 inhales in through the nose, inhaling in, and exhale through the mouth. And inhale, inhale, and exhale. And inhale. Inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Inhale, inhale, and exhale through the mouth. And inhale up and just hold it there. And exhale it out with a light, nice audible sigh. And now I'm going to have you just try 3 rounds, very simple, through the mouth. And it's 2 inhales through the mouth and 1 exhale through the mouth. So we're going to go like this. So it's belly, chest, exhale. Belly, chest, exhale through the mouth. Belly, chest, exhale. We're going to do 4 more. 1 and 2. Belly, chest, exhale. Last time. Belly, chest, exhale. Inhaling it in and just hold there. And notice your head, notice your body, notice the sensations. And exhale it out. And notice how you're feeling now, the power of your breath. And just take a moment to give thanks to your spirit. Thanks to the power within you to change your state at any time. And maybe feeling your body as it's changed in its temperature, maybe needing to yawn, and being so grateful for the capacity that your body has in less than 3 minutes, just from breathing. And you can open your eyes now. And so tell me what you felt.
Nice. Oh my gosh, that was so nice. Yeah. I love also the recognition of breathe in your belly, your chest. Like it helped me to really identify exactly where I was breathing from.
Robin,
Yeah.
what about you?
Um, yeah, I actually get dizzy pretty easily with it. And I've done breath work in the past and I noticed that. So when that happened, I just took some time. I think, I mean, it would be what you think about that, but to me, I always think, oh, I obviously am probably more dysregulated, or I get to that kind of holotropic spot easy. I'm not sure which it is, or maybe it's a
Yeah.
little bit of both.
And breath work is so experiential. So it's always different for every person, and every time you do it is different. And sitting or lying down, you're in the middle of a podcast, you're not in the place for it. And it was very unexpected. You didn't know we were going to do that. Nobody said we should be doing that, and I just threw it at you. And so that's the power of the breath, is that we can adapt. The breath can adapt. And when we notice that our head is dizzy, that we're feeling uncomfortable, that we want to itch, that we're feeling stuck, that the breathing is difficult, those are just messages from our body. And our breath is our language. The breath is what is, it's the voice. It's the inner voice. And our breath is related, is completely related to our emotions. Our emotions are related to our relationships. And so if we could just maybe practice a little bit more connecting to our breath, we can connect better to our emotions. And then another thing I just want to tell you, Robin, is that like everything is okay. It's all okay.
Yeah. It didn't make me uncomfortable because I'm used to it. But if I had, like you said, different situation, I might have allowed myself to go with it a little bit more rather
Yeah,
than, you know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, okay, I need to pull back just a little bit here because
And
of
then
like,
you felt the difference between a calming breath at the beginning and the intensified breath. And so, for whoever was trying it there, and I hope that you weren't doing that while you were driving, I mean, obviously, if you're closing your eyes, you won't be. Is to really notice how we can use the breath in different instances. And if you want to try breathwork with me, I have replays in English and in French on my website. I also give Zoom sessions. And my next one is December 18th, and it will be in English and in French. And so I basically go back and forth in French and English. So I don't have as many English speakers. Please come on board. I'd love to
I
have
heard the
more
accent
English
come out when you
speakers.
first started. The accent came out. I was like, I forget what word
Really?
it was, but I was like, oh, there's the French accent. Like a
I speak a
muscle
lot French.
memory.
So, and then all my classes here, including my book, is all in French, and also my perfume. So this was Breathe in Paris by Susan Oubari, is a holistic perfume. It's essential oils made 3 years in the making that I collaborated with. I collaborated with a brand to make this, and so I use this in all of my sessions. It's a room spray, or I use it when I'm giving Reiki. Obviously, it ignites my chakras and allows me to feel really well and connect and activate really the energy. And so that is not even sold in America because there's one ingredient that is not allowed in America. Imagine that. So I guess the only way that you can connect with me is through Instagram and through taking sessions with me on Zoom and my replays, which are on my website. But my classes are intense, and the breathwork that I was doing that's intense, for the 10 times we did it, anybody could do it, but you can definitely feel sensations. And in every single class, every class is for beginners and experts, because I always have one new person at least, and I explain how to do the technique, what to expect, why is it happening. I mean, I know it inside and out, breathwork. I studied it. I wrote this book. I wrote 600 pages about it, and I teach it to my students who are going to then teach it out there. And it's so important that if you do take a breathwork session with anybody, that they are trained, that they do breathwork themselves. That is a pet peeve of mine, is people who don't have the experience, who don't have the formal training, who are then guiding others. It is a huge responsibility to take people on a breathwork session, like I was saying, this intense breathwork, because we're bringing people into altered states of consciousness. They could tap into old traumas. We have to know how to handle it, and an expert and a qualified teacher is essential. And that's why I created the school, and that's why it's a tough school, because it is a very it's a practice that it takes responsibility and expertise.
Susan, can you restate it was December 18th that the
18th, I was going to
Zoom,
ask that
and what
too.
time was that at? And or what's this? Can you just tell a little bit more since you will be
Yeah,
doing English
Is
also?
it in person only,
it's
or do you do
Zoom
it?
It's
via
on Zoom.
Zoom.
Oh, it's on
It
Zoom.
Yeah,
it's a
that's why I wanted to
master
repeat
class.
it. Yeah.
It's a master class, and it's not online, but it will be by this time. It's online, and there's a theme that you can find out about when you go on to my website, susanubari.com. And I think it's in the notes of the podcast. And the way that the sessions, it's at 7 p.m. Paris time. So in Oregon, it's 9 hours
Oh,
less
yeah.
behind.
8.
You're
Aren't
early
we
in the morning.
difference?
Nine,
Yeah.
nine.
Okay.
So
So it's a
you're
doable time for us too.
yes,
Nice.
exactly. And the session is long. It's 3 hours. I do I bring in the theme. We do some journaling. We do meditation. I give Reiki in every single one of my sessions. I ask if you want it, if you'd like to receive it. I give distant Reiki, and I explain what breathwork is, and I explain how to do the technique, what the benefits are. Because the more you do this technique of breathwork that I teach, which is two-stage pranayama, the more you have benefits on a physical level, mental, emotional, and for me, spiritual. And if I have confidence now, it is really thanks to breathwork. And then combining with Reiki, my sessions are extremely transformative if you want to do the work. Because breathwork, as we already saw in this little trial, that it takes perseverance. You need to want to do it, and it's not for people who are pregnant, who have issues with cardiac, with their heart issues, cardiac problems, epilepsy, people who are on strong drug medications, or who have had recent surgery. Also, people who are sick. If you're sick, it's not worth doing breath work. So why is it that we're doing it? If it's like hard, you have to have resistance and perseverance, and it's not for everyone. Well, because it's a tool that's inside, it's natural, it's healthy, and we don't use it to its highest potential. And this is a technique that we can use to break down barriers, to come to our truth, to melt those crystallized conditionings and limiting beliefs that are not serving us and that are holding us back from going forward on our path. And so it's quite aggressive. And but the people who have taken this, I have people who have come back years and years over and over again to my sessions, and I've seen them change careers. Maybe stay in a marriage or leave a marriage, decide to take up a new thing that they were scared of doing, or perhaps just maybe taking more time for themselves and understanding their priorities and their values. I've seen people like go up and talk to their bosses, or maybe speak in public for the first time, ask for a raise, become more fulfilled thanks to just the freedom that they're feeling. So I speak about all that, and then we do the breath work. And so the breath work is with music. Earphones are headphones are recommended, and people lie down, they cover themselves, and then I say, okay, we're going to start the breath work, and like we just did, but it's not like that I just did there. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it's a 30-minute of breathing, and then 30 minutes of just lying there, the integration. And that's where I give Reiki the whole time, and I get very, very. I do a lot of channeling during my Zoom sessions because the music is so powerful, and the energy with everybody far away.
Fantastic. And just a reminder that everybody that will be in the show notes. So, and then we'll put your socials and things like that because you do have a fun social media to follow as well. So I'll
Yes,
be in there.
please follow me.
Yeah.
And Susan Oubari is Susan and then Oubari for those who are listening. So and it's susanubari.com and her name for the different, Instagram and social media, etc.
Yes, Susan.Oubari, but that's easy to find.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, oh my gosh, thank you so much. Really beneficial and informative and fun. So thank you so much.
I hope so. And by the time that this is recorded, I will have done this.
Oh yeah, the one woman show.
Oh,
Yes.
nice.
And so that's my dream of I'm going to be doing a blend of stand up and breath work in an hour and a half in a theater. And my goal is to bring it to all over the world eventually. So that's something that that's just a limiting belief that I broke down thanks to all the work I've done on myself, where I don't believe that I'm worthy of being seen. And my mother still makes fun of me that I always wanted to be famous. She's still, even last week she told me so. And let her think that, and I'm just gonna. And famous today has a different meaning, and it's very important, of course. How can I use what I have learned and been gifted with, and what I've created, in order to help others, help you do what to help you get through what you're getting through, and to live a happier, more fulfilling life. I think to be heard
Thank you.
is really important to
Yeah.
me.
Being heard, I think that story is for people, but also women
Yeah,
all around the world. Yeah.
for sure.
Men too, but women too. We all we relate. So thank you so much. Thank you for all of the listeners, and um, check out Susan's information, susanobari.com. And Robin and I are here at ReikiLifestyle.com. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. If you ended up
Not yet.
at,
Yep, we're still on.
We're still on the
oh, you're
recording.
still on.